Turning to living standards, the OBR conceded that the British families are now facing a 2-year-long 6% squeeze on living standards, which is expected to be lower in 2026 than 2019. Can you explain why the budget prioritises giving £4 billion a giveaway to the wealthiest few? Do you think you've got your priorities right, Chancellor?
Well, that is not what the budget prioritises, and that's a mischaracterisation of budget measures. So let me just explain. Would you let me answer the question, Ms. Ali?
Well, but hang on. You recognise the squeeze on living standards?
Yes, I was about to come on to that. I very much recognise the squeeze, and that's why there was a large number of cost of living measures in the budget. First of all, the energy support package, £3,300 per household, nearly £100 billion over this financial year and the next financial year. Then there was the fuel duty freeze. There was measures to help people on prepayment meters. There was a very long list of things to help people with cost of living pressures, and we want to do everything we can. We stand ready to do everything we can to help people with those short-term pressures. But yes, after you've been through an energy crisis, after you've been through a pandemic, there is pressure on living standards, and the long-term sustainable way to be able to relieve that pressure is economic growth. And the way to do that, one of the biggest levers that government can control, is to remove the barriers that stop people who want to from working. That's how you increase not just GDP, but GDP per head, which means that you have more money for public services, you can keep taxes lower, and so on. And the reason why what you said was a mischaracterisation is because the pensions lifetime allowance is, from memory, about £700 million a year. The childcare reform that we announced is more than £5 billion a year. So if you're saying where did we prioritise, we prioritised helping working families, young families who want to get back to work.
But if you look at the background, this committee produced a report some years ago about childcare during the time that your party's been in government, and many of the childcare provisions many childcare organisations have had to close over the last decade. So you're now playing catch up, having made cuts in the past. But going on to the point about who benefits, your own forecasters say that about 15,000 people will be receiving £250,000 each in terms of tax reliefs. Okay. By contrast, what we have is nothing in the budget for over 270,000 people who are homeless. 14 million people are still living in substandard housing. 7.5 million people will still be in fuel poverty. Nearly 10 million adults already are skipping or cutting back on meals, and 6 in 10 adults are unable to afford basic essentials, Chancellor. This is after 13 years in government. And this is after what you're telling us you have done as Chancellor. And I recognise you had to clean up the mess of your predecessors, and I think there's a sigh of relief in the country that you haven't crashed the economy as well. But over a decade, and this is the situation in this country. This is what people are having to live through. What are you going to do about it? Because it's not good enough what you've done so far.
So let's just go through the points you've made there. First of all, I completely reject the suggestion that our childcare reforms are playing catch-up. When we came into office, there was no 30-hour offer for 3 and 4-year-olds. That was introduced, I believe, in 2013. I was very proud that we introduced that. We didn't have that before. That made a very big difference. I have now extended that offer to babies over 9 months and to 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds, and that is a very big change in childcare provision, which will bring us much closer to countries like Denmark, and will remove a huge barrier
for another 2.5 years.
We'll remove a huge barrier. Can I answer the question, please? And yes, because it's a huge increase in childcare provision, there needs to be a very big increase in supply. You need thousands more. Then, if I could answer the question, please. You need thousands more childminders, thousands more nurseries, thousands more nursery places, and that takes time, and you can't do that overnight. But by September of next year, 1 million parents will be benefiting from this reform who wouldn't otherwise have benefited. Can I answer the rest of the question, please, Ms. Ali? Because you talked about something which is very
in health.
You can either let me answer the questions or not. But you asked something on childcare, and you also then asked a very important question about what we're doing to help people who are disadvantaged. And what we announced in the autumn statement and in the budget was a package of nearly £100 billion. It's simply not reasonable to say that giving, on average, £3,300 per household, but let's be clear, that is an average number. It is weighted to people on the lowest pay. So people, for example, on universal credit will get a one-off payment of £900, pensioners £300, people with a disability £150. Then there's the help with their energy bills on top of that. Then there's the help with prepayment meters. And if you ask me, you asked me a bigger question about what's happened after over 13 years. The answer is that the number of people in absolute poverty after housing costs has gone down by 1.7 million, including 400,000 children. So I think we have made a very big effort. One of the reasons why that's happened is because there are 1 million fewer households where no one is in work. And that is demonstrably makes a big difference in reducing poverty rates.
4 million people in poverty.
Rushanara. I know other colleagues have got questions on related topics. So, Andrea.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Chancellor.
Morning.